I, 28 male, am a fairly laid-back data analyst, but my now ex-girlfriend, 27 female, recently turned my life into an absolute circus. We had been dating for 2 years, and for the most part, things were normal. But over the last few weeks of our relationship, she started acting incredibly distant. She was suddenly guarding her phone like it held state secrets and picking fights over the most ridiculous things, like the specific way I loaded the dishwasher. Then one morning, she sat me down for a serious talk. She told me she wanted us to take our relationship entirely offline. She gave me this big, dramatic speech about how social media is toxic, how it invites the evil eye, and how our private love life is nobody's business but our own. She demanded we both delete or archive all our couple photos. Every single vacation, anniversary, and birthday picture had to go. I honestly thought it was a mature step. I thought she was just trying to protect our peace, so I agreed. I sat there and spent 20 minutes scrubbing my Instagram, and she supposedly did the same. I thought we were building a more private, secure foundation for our future. The very next afternoon, I was on my lunch break at work and mindlessly opened the app. Literally, the first post on my feed was from her. It was a brand new picture. She was at this highly exclusive rooftop bar downtown, leaning her entire body weight onto her guy best friend, 28M. His arm was wrapped tightly around her waist, and she was looking up at him with this adoring, bright smile I hadn't seen directed at me in months. Her caption was the kicker. It read, "Some bonds can't be broken. My absolute rock." I just sat there at my desk processing the audacity. She had manipulated me into erasing my entire existence from her public life specifically, so she could soft launch another guy without any digital footprint of me getting in the way. I didn't blow up her phone. I didn't throw a tantrum. I just grabbed the spare key to her apartment that was sitting in my desk drawer. I was supposed to fix a sticky lock for her later that week anyway, and left work a bit early. When I got to her place, she wasn't there, but her roommate, 26F, was. Roommate opened the door, took one look at my face, sighed heavily, and stepped aside to let me in. We had always been friendly, but roommate usually kept to herself. This time, she walked straight to the fridge, pulled out 2 beers, handed me one, and asked point-blank if I had seen the post. I nodded. She then spilled absolutely everything. She told me my girlfriend had been treating their apartment like a hotel, rolling in at 3 a.m. reeking of expensive men's cologne, and openly bragging about how incredibly easy it was to keep me completely in the dark. I took a sip of my beer, turned to roommate, and asked if she had a minute to sit on the couch with me. I held up my phone and we took a quick selfie. It wasn't inappropriate at all, but we looked super comfortable, and the background was unmistakably her living room. I posted it right then and there with the caption, "Always great company. Real ones never hide you." I left the spare key on the kitchen counter, thanked the roommate for her honesty, and drove home. Exactly 47 minutes later, my phone started buzzing off the hook. 6 back-to-back calls from the girlfriend. When I finally answered, the sheer panic and rage in her voice was music to my ears. She demanded to know why I was in her apartment, why I was hanging out with her roommate, and ordered me to delete the photo right that second. I played totally dumb. I calmly reminded her of her own rule. Our relationship was nobody's business, which meant my social media was my own to manage. She hung up on me. 20 minutes later, I heard tires screech in my driveway. She stormed up my front walkway, face flushed red, screaming about boundaries, respect, and how I was publicly humiliating her. I stood on my porch with my arms crossed and asked her to explain how my innocent picture with her roommate was humiliating, but her cozying up to another dude the day after wiping me from her life was perfectly fine. Her entitlement was honestly staggering. She claimed he was just a platonic friend going through a hard time who needed public support. She accused me of being insecure, controlling, and manipulative for retaliating. While she was literally mid-rant, my phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a text from her roommate that just said, "Check the joint travel account. Right now." We had a shared high-yield savings account we'd been funding for 8 months for a 3-week trip to Europe. I contributed about 70% of the funds because my salary is significantly higher than hers. I silenced her by holding up a finger, opened my banking app, and checked the balance. It was supposed to be over $8,000. I stared at the screen. The balance was sitting at exactly 74 cents. I checked the transaction history. Over the last 6 days, there had been multiple ACH transfers. $2,000 here, $1,500 there. All sent to an external account. I looked up at her and she immediately knew what I was looking at. The fake outrage vanished, and the cold, calculating truth of who she really was came out. She didn't even try to apologize or deny it. She crossed her arms, smirked, and told me she transferred every penny to Guy's best friend. She claimed I owed her because she had been unhappy for months, said I was emotionally unavailable, and that the money was rightful compensation for her wasted time. She casually dropped that she and the guy were using my hard-earned savings to finance a month-long trip to Tulum, Mexico. Then she turned around, walked to her car, and warned me over her shoulder that if I tried to get the money back, she would make my life a living nightmare. I immediately called the bank's fraud department. The representative was super sympathetic, but firm. Because it was a joint account, she legally had equal access to the funds. The bank couldn't reverse the ACH transfers because she was an authorized user. It was strictly a civil matter. So I closed my personal checking accounts, opened new ones at a completely different credit union, and rerouted all my direct deposits to stop any further bleeding. But highly entitled people never just walk away when they think they have the upper hand. To stop me from going after the money, she played her next dirty trick. The next morning, a county sheriff's deputy served me with an ex parte temporary restraining order. She had gone to the courthouse and filed a completely fabricated affidavit claiming I stalked her to her apartment, threatened her roommate, and cornered her on my porch screaming that I would destroy her life. The temporary order mandated I stay 100 yards away and not contact her pending a full hearing in 14 days. She used that fake order to try and pull off a legal robbery. Knowing I couldn't legally go near her or contact her, she showed up at my house the very next day with Guy's best friend and a police escort for a civil standby. She told the local precinct she needed an escort to safely retrieve her belongings from her abuser's home. Her belongings, according to her, included my giant flat-screen TV, my gaming console, and a leather sofa I owned before we even met. Luckily, I was at the office. My landlord, who lives in the house next door, saw the commotion and stepped out. He informed the officers that my ex was not on the lease, had never lived there officially, and had no legal right to enter the premises without a specific court order for property retrieval, which a standard temporary RO doesn't grant. The cops realized they were being used, told her it was a civil issue, and ordered her to leave the property. Frustrated that her plan failed, she sent Guy's best friend back to my house that night to intimidate me. I was sitting inside playing video games when my security camera caught him aggressively kicking my front door, screaming my name, and demanding I come outside to fight him. I stayed totally silent. I didn't even turn on the porch light. I just let the camera record his unhinged behavior in crystal clear HD, saving the footage to multiple cloud drives. The entitlement finally pushed her completely over the edge 2 days before the scheduled court hearing. Desperate to steal my electronics to pawn for their Tulum trip cash, she decided the law simply didn't apply to her. She drove to my house while I was at work, bypassed the front porch camera, went into my backyard, and actually tried to pry open my back patio window with a crowbar. She completely forgot about my neighbor, whose driveway faces directly into my backyard. He saw her, called 911, and the police arrived to find her literally halfway through my window. In our state, if an applicant for a restraining order goes to the respondent's house to commit a crime, they're the ones going to jail. She was arrested on the spot for attempted burglary and violating a court order. When the day of the restraining order hearing finally arrived, the courtroom was dead silent. My ex wasn't there because she was still sitting in county holding waiting for a bail hearing. Her lawyer looked like he wanted to sink into the floor. My attorney stepped up and just started dropping evidence like we were playing a game of Uno. We presented the bank statements showing she drained the joint account right before filing the fake order. We presented the text messages from roommate, where my ex literally bragged in writing, "I'm filing the RO so he can't contest the bank stuff. Easy money." We showed the ring footage of her new guy trying to kick my front door off its hinges. And finally, we handed over the fresh police report of her getting arrested for breaking into my house with a crowbar. The judge took his glasses off, rubbed his temples, and immediately dismissed the temporary restraining order with prejudice. He then stated on the official record that he was referring the matter to the district attorney for perjury charges because she had blatantly weaponized the court system to facilitate theft. The fallout was absolute poetry. Guy's best friend was arrested a few days later based on my ring footage. It turns out he was currently on probation for a prior theft charge, so his probation was revoked instantly, and he was sent back to lockup. As for my money, I took her to small claims court. The maximum claim limit in our state is $10,000, so I sued her for the $8,000 she stole from me. She defaulted because she was way too busy dealing with her felony arraignments to show up to civil court. I won the default judgment easily and immediately placed a lien on her car. When she realized she couldn't pay her massive criminal defense fees, she tried to sell her vehicle, only to find out she legally couldn't transfer the title to anyone until she paid me back every single cent. Roommate broke their shared lease and moved out, leaving my ex solely responsible for the rent on their expensive apartment. Having lost her cushy corporate job due to the felony arrest and pending charges, she couldn't make rent and was officially evicted a month later. She told me she wanted a public life without me in it, and she got exactly what she asked for. Her name, mugshot, and burglary charges are now permanently floating around on the county's public arrest records for anyone with a quick internet connection to see. Sometimes the trash takes itself out, but every now and then, you have to help it find the dumpster. If you enjoyed watching pure entitlement get absolutely dismantled by a little bit of patience and the legal system, do me a solid and hit that subscribe button. It's completely free and, best of all, doesn't require filing a fake restraining order.